The Bristol Dirt Race is once again returning in 2022. Bristol Motor Speedway is hoping to have 100% capacity for their night race in September, and it was announced today that the NFL is going to be expanding to a 17-game season, and that has effects on the Daytona 500. What's going on, guys? It's Daniel, and welcome back to our video. We have quite a few NASCAR stories discussed here today on the channel. Let's go ahead and just jump straight into it. We're going to go ahead and start off with the only sponsor news we have today, and it's a paint scheme announcement. As Chase Elliott's Hooters Throwback paint scheme has officially been revealed, he is going to be driving a Alan Kulwicki Hooters Throwback scheme to when Alan Kulwicki had Hooters on his car. This throwback scheme looks incredible. It gives me those really awesome Alan Kulwicki vibes, and it is a very, very great throwback to one of the legends of our sport, Alan Kulwicki. Alan Kulwicki, for those who don't know, who are kind of newer to sport, Alan Kulwicki was the first owner-driver to win a NASCAR championship in a long time. He won the championship in 1992, and he did a lot of great things for the sport and did a lot of his stuff on his own with very few people working full-time in his shop, and he's able to win the championship. This is a very, very excellent throwback and great news overall. I'm very, very happy to hear that news, and I really like this paint scheme a lot as well. The next news we're going to talk about is Rocket League. Yes, you heard that right. NASCAR and Formula One are teaming up with Rocket League, and they have teamed up and will be in Season 3 of Rocket League coming up this May. A NASCAR car is going to be part of that DLC, and F1 car is also going to be part of that DLC as well. This is major, major, major news for NASCAR. Rocket League, for those who don't know, is one of the biggest games out on the market right now. Even 5 or 6 years after, you still have hundreds of thousands to millions of players playing the game currently at the moment. And this is big for NASCAR and F1. Because those people that are fans, they could look at that NASCAR car and say, hey, I like to see how it is and maybe watch NASCAR overall as well. This is massive, especially recently with the news of NASCAR NXT. The next game is expected to be released here very, very soon. There's been rumors that that's going to be the name title of the game. I am very, very happy that Rocket League is teaming up with NASCAR. This is big, big news overall for them. And congratulations to Rocket League and NASCAR for teaming up to work with Rocket League. And now we're going to jump on to the next story of this episode, as we're going to go ahead and talk about Jessica Friesen, as she is going to be attempting the Knoxville Dirt Truck Series race once again in the number 62 truck. I think it's ZZ Trees or something is going to be the sponsor for the truck as well. Jessica Friesen, for those who don't know, is the wife of Stuart Friesen. She was attempting to make her NASCAR Truck Series debut at the Bristol Dirt and become the first husband and wife duo to race since Patty Moise and Eldon Sawyer raced back in 1991. But because of the monsoons that hit this past weekend at Bristol Dirt, that unfortunately did not happen because they didn't have enough points, and NASCAR went back to their usual starting lineup format and did not have the heat races. So unfortunately, she was not able to attempt. And she was pretty decent in practice well from what I saw. She once again will be attempting to make the race. Now, hopefully, weather not being an issue this time up when they go up to Iowa to race in Knoxville, hopefully she doesn't have these problems and she's able to make this race, because I think Jessica Friesen has a lot of potential. I've talked about her on the channel on how much success she's had in late models, and not late models, on the dirt track. She's got a couple wins, and she's had a lot of success as well in her time. And to me, I think Jessica Friesen has a very good opportunity to make the truck race. I'm really, really excited for her. I am really going to be rooting for her to make this race. And unlike last time at Bristol Dirt, this weekend, hopefully she is able to race in Knoxville and able to make it into the show, because I think that she could have made it a show along with Ryan Newman. I think that she could have a very good shot of making it into the show at Bristol Dirt. And we're now going to go ahead and jump on to the next story of this episode. It was announced yesterday, according to Adam Stern, the NASCAR has announced a new diversity class, and this class has formed a new 15-person diversity committee that spans the industry to include inclusion into the sport and include more diversity in the sport, which is really, really awesome. The 15 people on this board in this committee are Jeff Benke from NBC Sports, Jim Campbell from Chevy, Paul Doschel from Toyota, Julie Geese from Phoenix Raceway, Joe Gregory from Sonoma Raceway, Denny Hamel from JGR in 2311, Rick Hendrick from Hendrick Motorsports, Terry Hines from Fox Sports, Matt Ledler from Comcast, Valerie Love from Coca-Cola, Justin Marks from Trackhouse, Eric Moise from Nashville, Mark Rushrick from Ford, Daniel Soares from Trackhouse Racing, and Bubba Walls from 2311 Racing. This is really, really good. NASCAR has been trying to become a more inclusive and diverse sport and become inclusive in the sport, and I think it's really, really awesome that they're bringing this diversity class. I'm very, very happy overall that this is something that is coming to the sport. I think it's going to be good, and it's going to be able to bring minorities and more people into the sport and really help reach the minority community as well and bring them into the sport. This is really, really awesome and great news to hear overall. And now we're going to go ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode, as we're going to talk about the next-gen car once again. It was announced yesterday, according to Bob Pockers, that each manufacturer will have a next-gen car built at Martinsville on Tuesday and Wednesday. That's right. Currently at this moment, as I'm recording this video, they are currently testing the next-gen car with all the different manufacturers. The cars will have a patterned camo wrap to disguise elements of the car, which will be equipped with real force transducers to gather data. Drew Herring is going to be driving a Toyota. Drew Herring, for those who don't know, is currently the spotter for Martin Truex Jr., David Reagan for Ford, and Alex Bowman for Chevy. This is going to be the first manufacturer-based test so far at this current moment. Now remember, this test is going to be about gathering data, but also remember that they're done developing the next-gen car. And we're getting very close to having the reveal of the next-gen car right now. Again, we don't remember exactly when they're revealing it. I think it's going to be May or June when they're going to reveal the next-gen car. But this test is really just going to be to gauge. You have drivers that are very talented, drivers that have raced in multiple different factors of cars and different types of cars as well. And I think that this is going to be overall a really good way to gauge where they're at with this car. Because again, remember, they are done developing the next-gen car right now. So I think we're going to see quite a bit from this next-gen test. There's going to be some things we're going to learn. And I'm really happy to see where we're going in the direction. Drivers have been getting good feedback. We know this car is going to be really good on road courses. We're going to short track, and hopefully we're able to gauge and see something really, really awesome with the next-gen car. I'm really excited to hear the news, and we might talk about this later this week, but we'll see what happens with the next-gen test. And now we're going to go ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode, as we're going to talk about Bristol. As Bristol is hoping to have 100% capacity for the September race. They said this after the Truck Series race was concluded. They are hoping to have full 100% capacity for their upcoming Cup Series races, the Truck Series and Xfinity Series, when they all return on the concrete track at night. This is what I'm hoping too. I do feel very confident, though, that we will probably have 100% capacity races for a lot of the upcoming races, including the series. I feel like by the time we get to Daytona weekend, or maybe a little before that, I feel very confident that there is overall a really good chance that Bristol will have 100% capacity for their upcoming races. But one thing that I think that's not going to change is the safety precautions as well. I do think that masking is still going to be very, very important. I think you're going to have to wear masks when you go to these races, at least for 2021, even though despite COVID being over probably, or close to being over at that time. I still think NASCAR wants to go to 100% capacity. I still feel like they're going to have to wear masks when you go to races. I think that policy is going to continue through the 2021 season, and I don't think that is going to change through 2022. But I really would like to, hopefully sooner or later, we can have 100% capacity. I wish we could have 100% capacity for every single race, but because of COVID still going on in the country right now, they can't do it. But we're getting closer to that point. Sooner or later, garages will be open. They're hoping to have full access to garage as well for fans sometime this summer. Maybe around the All-Star race. That's what I've been hearing, because Texas is in that All-Star weekend, and that could be the first race. But yeah, I'm really intrigued to see what is going to happen, and very good news, and hopefully we will see 100% capacity fully at Bristol coming up very, very soon. And now we're going to go ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode, as we're going to go ahead and talk about Gaunt Brothers Racing. As Gaunt Brothers Race said in their post-race release, that they're hoping that their next race is expected to be at Talladega on April 28th. Gaunt Brothers so far this year has ran 3 races. They ran a Daytona 500, Daytona Road Course, and they ran this weekend at Bristol. And their next race is expected to be Talladega. I will tell you right now, I do expect that the driver is going to be Ty Dillon. I don't think that's going to change. I think Ty Dillon is still going to end up driving that car. I think it's really, really cool that what they've been doing. They've really been somewhat competitive this year. I mean, Ty Dillon ran top 20 a lot of that race yesterday in the 96 car. So I don't think the driver needs to be changed in the car. I just hope that they can maybe some point go full-time in 2022. I hope they can get back to the full-time sets, because it sucks that they're only running a few races, because that team with Daniel Suarez last year, they were really, really strong. But I think Ty Dillon's done pretty well for the team so far. Yes, he didn't make the Daytona 500, of course. They've ran technically 2 races and weren't able to make the 500. I hope they can make the next race. Hopefully more than 40 cars attempt to make the race, like Austin Baby doesn't race in College, because I don't know what College Racing plans. I know it's being rumored that College Racing might drive at Talladega with Castrol. That's being rumored at this time. We'll find out really, really soon. But yeah, that is the news on Gaunt Brothers. Ty Dillon, I hope if he can get in the race and if he's able to make the race, I think Ty Dillon overall has a really good shot for a top 20 run. And yeah, that is the news on Gaunt Brothers Racing. And now we're going to jump on to the next story of today's episode, as we're going to talk about Brandon Godovic. As was announced this morning, that Brandon Godovic is going to be racing in place for Santino Ferrucci in Martinsville due to scheduling conflicts. The next race for Santino Ferrucci is going to be not till June at Pocono. Now, I believe I know the reason why Santino Ferrucci is not racing this weekend and why he's racing at Pocono. I believe there's an IndyCar test coming up at Texas, and Santino Ferrucci has said, right before he got signed to Sam Hunt Racing earlier this year, he has said that he wants to run the Indianapolis 500, and this was the only race he run. Now, what team would he go to if he's to run the Indy 500, perhaps? I think it's very likely that Santino Ferrucci is either going to go to Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing or he is going to go to Dale Coyne Racing. Rahal Letterman Lanigan always runs 3 cars. I know Spencer Pigot's name has been linked to that car, but Santino Ferrucci's name has also been linked to that car. We know the 2 full-time drivers for that team right now. We know the 15 is going to be driving Graham Rahal. We know the 30 is going to be driving for Takuma Sato once again. But they have not announced the 3rd car. Also, Antonio Felix da Costa's name has also been linked to that car as well. But I think there's a really good chance that it's going to be Santino Ferrucci. Santino Ferrucci on ovals is really, really, really superb. People don't realize this, but Santino Ferrucci almost had a shot to win the Indy 500 in his rookie year. He was really fast last year and in 2019 as well. And I think Santino Ferrucci will do a really show, especially if he's into Rahal Letterman Lanigan stuff. He's going to perform very well. If he doesn't go there, I mentioned Dale Coyne Racing. He ran for Dale Coyne Racing full-time last year in 2019, and he performed very well both years, especially on the oval tracks. Now, I don't know if he's going to go to Dale Coyne Racing, but there's a chance he could. The drivers I think they've got signed right there now. So Romain Grosjean, Cody Ware's supposed to be there because remember, Rick Ware Racing is associated with Dale Coyne. I think Pietro Fittipaldi is one of them, and then Ed Jones is for sure confirmed full-time. I think those are the 4 drivers who are driving, so I really think it's very likely that Santino is going to go over to Rahal Letterman Lanigan, but there's also a chance Spencer Pigot goes there. But I think Santino Ferrucci is for sure going to go to the Indianapolis 500, and I think that's why he's not racing at this moment for quite some time, because he's had some good performances so far in the NASCAR Xfinity Series when he's driven for Sam Hunt Racing with the TRD back. He's finished in the top 15, around that top 15 area. He's not made a lot of friends on the track, but he's been very, very consistent and has proved he's pretty talented in IndyCar. I expected to struggle in the NASCAR stock cars, but he's been performing pretty well and really didn't have a lot of experience, but that's really important to know. And yeah, Santino Ferrucci, I think he's going to do pretty well. Hopefully he's able to make the Indy 500, and hopefully that announcement will come very soon on what race car Santino Ferrucci is going to run in the Indianapolis 500. And now we're going to go ahead and jump on to the next story of today's episode, as we're going to go ahead and talk about the Super Bowl. Now, why today are we talking about the Super Bowl? Because it was announced today in the NFL press that today they have announced that the NFL season is expanding from a 16-game season to a 17-game season. And because of this, instead of the Super Bowl happening in 2022 on February 6th, they announced today that the Super Bowl is going to be on February 13th. That means the Daytona 500 is going to be pushed back to February 20th. Now, a lot of people are asking, isn't President's Day on February 14th generally? Isn't it on around the 2nd week of February? Well, actually, that's not the case here. I've made sure to double check this for sure. President's Day is still on February 21st. So even if Daytona 500 is rained out, if that ends up happening, the race is still going to be on the President's Day weekend. So it doesn't change that this race on the President's Day weekend. This just means that the Super Bowl is going to push the start of the NASCAR season back a week later than they generally would start. Generally, NASCAR has been starting around the 2nd week of February to get the season rolling a little bit earlier. But the side of the season is going to be pushed back a week later than they would have, in 2020. So NASCAR will probably start the season on February 20th. I expect that they're going to do the single speed week once again, where they have the clash on the Saturday, maybe the night before, Saturday night before, or on the Tuesday night before. I expect this same kind of similar to the same schedule we saw this year. I think that's not going to change, and I think there's a really good chance they're going to run a Daytona road course next year, especially with how good the finish was on the Daytona road course. And I also expect we're going to have the same procedures we had last year. Daytona 500 qualifying on Wednesday, then the duels, then the truck race, and Xfinity and ARCA, and then the Cup race at Daytona 500. But this is really, really big, too, because there's been conversation on when they're going to end the season, too. That's just one thing to note. But, yeah, the Super Bowl's pushing the season back, and there's, and that's really important to note because NASCAR has not announced schedule currently at this moment on what they're going to do for 2022 at this point. But it looks like we now for sure have confirmation that the Daytona 500, once again, is going to be taking place on February 20th instead of February 13th. So expect the 500 to be on February 20th this year. That's an important story right there. And now we're going to go ahead and jump on to the final story of today's episode. As it was announced during the race yesterday, that the Bristol Dirt Cup race, Spring Cup race, and Truck Weekend is once again returning. That's right. Jerry Cobble announced yesterday when they were about to take the green flag for the final stage of the race that the Bristol Dirt Spring Cup race, once again, will have their place in 2022 in hopes of having a full crowd this year. They really were not able to gauge because they didn't have a full crowd in 2021, but next year they're hoping to have a full crowd for that race. I can tell you right now, after watching that race at Bristol Dirt, I was really, really excited when they announced this. And apparently, the reaction from the crowd, everybody, a lot of people were extremely happy about this news. A lot of people were super, super pumped about it. They were cheering when they heard it when Jerry Cobble announced this. And I think that they made a great decision overall to have this event. Now, they have a year to look back at what they can do fix and what they learned in a good way and what they've learned in a bad way. To me, there's a lot of things they did really, really good. They adjusted. They brought single file racing to fix the issues with the dust problems. They adapted to the race, and they did a really good job. Even with the monsoon hitting the racetrack, they were able to adapt. They got the racing in. They tried to fix the racing with single file restarts, and they had to pit road procedures. They decided to add an extra few minutes on the final pit stop. They did a really good job over there. But here's some suggestions I have. Number one, work on the whole racetrack. Get the racetrack a lot better before the race happens. Work on it a lot better after the truck race so the track isn't as dusty. When the sun bakes, though, there's a chance this race is going to be dusty. I would rather have this race happen on a night, like on a Saturday night, or later in the year. And this is another suggestion I have for Bristol Dirt. And where I'm going to talk about this on a future scheduled video that's going to be coming out here really, really soon. I would like to see a swap for 2 race dates. First is Bristol Dirt. The second one is Sonoma. I want to see Bristol Dirt and Sonoma swapped their dates. I want to see Sonoma move to part of the West Coast Swing, expand that West Coast Swing to 4 races, and move Bristol Dirt to the first or second week after the Cold 600. And here's why I suggest this going forward. The Spring Bristol Dirt Race has been affected by rain in 2014, 2015, 2017, 2018, and now 2021. 5 of the last Spring Bristol Dirt races have been affected by weather and rain, and have either been delayed to start and have started later today, or they've been delayed to the next day on Monday or even Tuesday. And I really would like that pushed back because of the weather concerns. And we ran this race, a spring race, back in 2020 when COVID happened. We ran this race in June, and guess what? No rain problems. It was sunny all day. There was no weather to affect the outcome of that. Sonoma. We've seen images and people talking about how they want this race, Sonoma, to be moved to the West Coast Swing. I think Sonoma is part of SMI, if I'm not mistaken. So they could swap that right there. And if you take a look at the pictures, the grass is green. It's beautiful. The track looks amazing. And the weather is also much more better compared if this race was in the summer. It looks bad, and fans don't enjoy it as much as if they would. It's better for the fans, too. I think for both the best fan experience, I think that there's a really good chance they could do this. Have the Spring Bristol Day swapped with Sonoma. I think that's what they need to do. And if I had to overall make another change and a suggestion as well, if they are to do this, I would like to see the Xfinity Series come out there and run their first dirt race, and have it instead of happening on a Sunday afternoon, why not have this race on a Saturday night where you can have the Truck Series race takes place on Thursday, the Xfinity Series race takes place on Friday night, and on Saturday have the Cup Series race takes place. I know that money could be an issue, and it might cost them way too much money with all the money stuff, with them having to remove the safer barriers and all the stuff they have to bring all the dirt. Because it is one concern, it's the money issue, which I think is why a lot of people were confused when they did announce this. But I'll tell you right now, I am very, very happy that they made a decision overall, and I like that they did this. And I'll tell you what, I was very skeptical when they announced this race last year, and I thought that this race was going to be bad. It was excellent. It was really, really good, and I absolutely enjoyed it. And I can tell you what, I might myself try to go out to Bristol next year and might go to my first Cup race. I really am thinking about that being my first race, especially with how happy people were after that race. I know there was a lot of skeptics and some haters, but generally there was a lot of positive reception for the race overall. And I do think that NASCAR has a lot of work, and I think that they can learn from this race and do better. I think the next year that they do this, they've got a lot of things that they can do, but I think that next year when they come back here for the spring, I think that there are a lot of changes and a lot of things they can do better. I think they will do a much better job. I think we're going to see a much better show even than this year. And it was a good show, but I think that we will see a much better show the second time we come around here. So anyway, that is going to be for today's NASCAR news video. I want to thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe to the channel, notifications so you be notified when a video does go live on my channel. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and support me on Patreon as well. Links description below for that. And comment below your thoughts on today's video. What are your thoughts about the news of them going to Bristol Dirt in 2022 once again? Do you think NASCAR jumped the gun early to make this decision, or do you think that they made the right decision overall? Let me know in the comments below. And what are your thoughts about all the other NASCAR stories we've talked about on today's episode? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure you like so YouTube can recommend more of these great videos out to you guys. Do that, I greatly and truly appreciate it. Tomorrow, I'm going to be releasing a very special video on my channel tomorrow morning. I am going to be doing my dream schedule that I would like to see on the 2020 NASCAR schedule or a future schedule, or what I like to see on a normal schedule that you will be seeing tomorrow here on the channel. And then on Thursday, we're going to catch up on some of the NASCAR stories that I've missed from that are going to get announced, because apparently the Dale Jr. download, they've got Marcus Smith coming on there, and there's a big announcement that is coming very, very soon. So we'll talk about that very, very soon. But anyway, if you enjoyed today's video, make sure to like it. Anyway, like I said, I'll see you guys next time for some more great and epic NASCAR content. Take care, everybody.